If you want to know how extreme is the social decline that is spreading all over the United States, all you need to do is walk the streets of our bigger cities. You don't even have to go to the bad areas to see the absurdities that are eating away our communities and destroying them from within. As we will show you in this video, even in the best parts of Washington, D.C., filth, squalor, and disease are everywhere. New images show that only a couple of blocks away from the White House, countless needles can be seen on the ground. Homeless encampments are taking over national parks, and the rate of delinquencies has spiked to the highest levels in history. The same is true for many other areas that used to be prosperous and economically and socially stable. Unfortunately, their decay is happening at a frightening pace and will only continue to accelerate as economic conditions go from worse to catastrophic in 2023. Some people may not believe this, but at one point, Philadelphia was one of the greatest cities in the world. But nowadays, the city of Benjamin Franklin is filled with prime examples of the social insanity that is rippling across the country. On Twitter, one user shared a video while walking the city's streets, witnessing dozens of people from different backgrounds passed out on the sidewalks, while others, clearly under the influence of illegal substances, were in a catatonic state that would shock anyone. But the truth is that, after years of neglect, no one is really surprised to hear that this is going on in Philadelphia. But what about a block from the White House? A video shared by Benny Johnson exposed scenes that seem like they've been taken out of a zombie movie. Exactly one block behind the White House, dozens of homeless encampments were scattered throughout city streets and even into national parks. Severe sanitation issues, including human waste, used needles, and trash piling up everywhere, left Johnson in disbelief. At D.C. Sparkle Street, glass from smashed car windows posed a threat to everyday citizens walking by. Even in front of St. John's Cathedral, garbage dominated the landscape. This is an apt metaphor for a country in decline, Johnson stressed. On the West Coast, things are no different. In recent years, Portland, once considered one of the finest cities in America, has become something short of a dystopia, where shop owners sleep with self-defense tools behind their pillows, and citizens must act as law enforcement agents. During an interview with the National Review, Tritec Bikes owners Dylan Carrico Rogers says he slept at his shop for 7 months with multiple self-defense tools under his pillow. In New York City, poverty levels have become so oppressive that its homelessness crisis is spiraling out of control. The Daily Mail reports that the city has called the National Guard to deal with the displacement crisis that is overwhelming homeless shelters and facilities, as the staff are unable to cope with the surge. National Guard reservists are being deployed to help with day-to-day operations at many shelters, including managing the capacity, distributing food, and helping out with staff shortages. There are well over 65,000 people currently living in New York City's shelters, close to 13,000 of which have become homeless in the past year, according to the Department of Homeless Services. Do you remember any other period in history in which government officials of any city brought in the National Guard because homelessness had exploded to unprecedented levels? This crisis is unfolding at a pace that is just breathtaking. Unfortunately, desperate people living on the streets are doing desperate things to survive. The Mail reports that even in some of the nicest neighborhoods in the Big Apple, some people are stealing goods and reselling them just a couple of blocks away from where they committed the theft. And those are actually the least worst cases happening out there, researcher notes. New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles are no longer cities of aspiration. They are increasingly defined by an almost feudal hierarchy. The rich live well, protected by private security and served by local coffee shops and trendy clubs. Meanwhile, the working class struggles to pay rent, possesses no demonstrable path to a better life, and as a result, often migrates elsewhere, Kotkin highlights. Offense rates are soaring everywhere, and homelessness, once an exception, is increasingly widespread. Those very streets once said to be paved with gold are now filled with discarded needles, excrement, and graffiti, the expert added. The old saying that the city air makes one free all too often means freedom to be poor, to experience endemic homelessness, collapsing public infrastructure, and rising neglect, Kotkin says. In the state where it's no longer considered a felony to steal anything worth less than $1,000, there has been property theft, including a huge rise in carjackings. Since 2019, Walgreens closed over 30 outlets in San Francisco due to skyrocketing cases of retail theft and weak law enforcement. At the same time, New York small businesses experienced a 222% increase in burglaries last year. Sadly, it appears that our leaders are not too worried about restoring the economic and social balance this country needs to start thriving again. Year after year, our social decline intensifies and our major cities continue to collapse all around us. If you love America, you should be completely disgusted by what is happening to our country. What do you think our founders would say if they could see what our cities have become? They would certainly be deeply ashamed of us. And we should be deeply ashamed of ourselves too, because we should have never allowed our beloved country to sink so low.